Thank you. So if Dr. Sundar, if you can start sharing the slides, and then from there we'll.
Yes, Ms. Synthia, can you see?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, for those of you who haven't met me, I'm Synthia Surin. I'm the Regional Director for ICCHP Asia. And I've known Dr. Sundar for many years, since the time he was also working in Malaysia. And, I'm very happy to be able to share the experience I have with working with worldwide leaders, and doing training with a lot of multinationals. So what I'm here today is to share my experience and give you all an insight into the new age world of C-suite, or what we call the senior leadership skills. It is very important what experienced leaders need to know to succeed. Because with all new roles come with new responsibilities, but experienced leaders in senior level roles face unique challenges. So as you look at this slide, right, senior leadership skills. So really, this afternoon, what I'm going to be sharing with you is my hands-on experience of dealing with leaders and C-suite executives, and how they move on and change whatever they are doing. What experienced leaders need to know to succeed. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, you would hear the word C-suite, you would hear senior leaders. Roughly, they mean the same thing. They often carry titles such as vice president or a senior director that has responsibilities for more than one functions. And this could be in any area. It could be in sales, it could be marketing and finance, operations, engineering, IT, legal, or human resources. They run business units and geographical regions all over the world. So once you have come to this level, you would be dealing a lot internationally. So you need to be able to understand how people from other countries or geographical regions they manage. Now, these senior functional leaders manage groups of more than 500 people generally. And when I'm quoting to you, I will be quoting to you in US dollars. And they have budgets of excess of 500 million and are often on the short list to become the next CEO or the CEO. The next slide, please. Now, I want to go through with you about what is the cost of lacking in these skills. You might be in a position, but if you do not have these skills, you would face challenges leading from the top, most notably setting a vision you have to build towards the future. At the same time, you will face real-time, short-term challenges, but this is nothing at all that you cannot do. In the next few slides, I'm going to go through with you some of the things that you need to know in order to be a first-class senior leadership leader. The next slide, please. Now, with the right training and practice, An experienced executive can develop the senior leadership skills needed to avoid common pitfalls. What are the pitfalls? Pitfalls are actually mistakes. And you need to meet with your organization's divergent needs. This helps you to secure the future of the business. Can I have the next slide, please? Now, I want you to know these are what I'm going to be talking this afternoon is going to be on these 4 fundamental leadership skills. In my experience, I believe that success at every leadership level is rooted in first, number 1, self-awareness. Number 2, it's communication. Number 3, it's influence. Number 4, it's learning agility. Now, don't get too worried about everything. I am going to go through in detail about these 4 skills. So let's now go to the next slide. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is a critical skill needed by all leaders in any organization. And it is no different from experienced people who now have been in business for maybe about 10 years, 15 years. And I don't want you all, maybe as new out there y'all are, to be worried because there is nothing at all that you cannot learn. Because most importantly, it goes beyond knowing your own strengths. What are your weaknesses? What are the patterns and the effect of your behavior that is going on within your organization? The next slide, please. Now, it has 4 facts that almost critical for all leaders. It is leadership wisdom. Leadership wisdom is very, very important. The next one is leadership identity. The next one is leadership reputation. And the next one is leadership brand. What is leadership wisdom? Leadership wisdom is knowing to make the right decisions when you have all the information that has been given to you by maybe the managers in your company. You have to sit back and use your own knowledge, your own talent, and your own direction to then have the wisdom to make the right decisions. So now I want to go a little bit into what is leadership identity. Leadership identity, it is who your company is. The identity of your organization is dependent on your wisdom and your reputation. So the identity of the company that becomes well known throughout the world just depends on you. Now you would know that there are huge companies out there. You have Intel, you have Dell, you have various other companies. I'm not very conversant with the companies in India. But you will, if someone says to you, ABC company, you already know You already know what they're producing. You know how big they are and how powerful they are. But how did this identity come about? This identity came about by the leaders, the skilled leaders in the company who had the foresight to be able to promote worldwide. Now, the other very important thing is leadership reputation. So what is leadership reputation? Leadership reputation is when you are out there, maybe selling to a different company, and you give them the promise that all your products or whatever you are doing, you would stand by and guarantee them that everything will be unique in its way. You do not want to lose your reputation if you have promised that the goods you are selling will carry a 1-year warranty, but if at all suddenly there is a breakdown in some of the products that you are selling within the 1 or 3 years that you have promised, that you do not actually go beyond that and say, I know the 1-year guarantee is over, but it is our job as this company to make sure that whatever we have sold you is in perfect working order. Now, when you do that, you will never ever realize that the word of mouth, when I talk word of mouth, it means what people are talking about. They will then talk about your company and how even when the guarantee period was over, you still stood by them. And you even said, even though the guarantee period is over, I'm going to help you and make sure that your product is working well again. Now, the next thing is leadership brand. The leadership brand is very, very important with the skilled leadership that you have. So branding is a completely different topic. I'm not going to go into branding, as today we are talking more about the critical behaviors of leaders. So I will leave branding to another time. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, now, here, I really want to talk about the communication skills. Communication skills, especially as all of you who are being leaders, and I'm very sure you want to actually trade or do business worldwide. Now, when you are doing business worldwide, it will be really different from how you communicate in your home country. When I say communicate in your home country, it could be India, it could be Japan, it could be China, it doesn't matter where it is. But the minute we start communicating with people who are not from your country, it is very, very important and key for all leaders, right? Especially senior executives and heads of functions and units, to be able to understand that you have to speak in an understandable language that the person you are dealing with could understand. There might be certain lingo that you would use in India among the companies that you speak with. But that will not be applicable now for the people who you are now networking with, probably in the US, in the UK, in Japan, in China. Some of you might even want to come and do business here in Malaysia. We have neighboring countries like Singapore. We have countries like Thailand and Indonesia. Of course, in Asia, we have a bit of a different way of doing things. But the minute you are doing things with the Western countries expect a very different dialogue from you. The complex logistics of sharing information, often across time zones, cultures, and operations, and leading employees from a distance is one challenge. Effectively communicating the goals of the business while at the same time inspiring trust. Now, I want to go back to leading employees from a distance. There are many organizations that will set up satellite offices in other countries. And you will then employ their nationals. I'll just give you an example that we would want to have someone who can speak to their people in their own language. I'll give you an example that if from Malaysia, we were going to work with the Japanese and we set up a satellite office there, we would want to employ a Japanese person. Why would we want to do that? Why don't I send someone who I know to Japan? It is better, we have found from experience. Yes, you can have someone that you want to send from India or Malaysia, but if you have someone who knows the culture, they know the people's behavior, they are able to sell the product better than you will be able to explain. But you are now stationed in another country. So you have to be very aware that you are able to lead this delegation of employees that are not Indians, they are not Malaysians, neither they are Asians, but to be able to understand their culture and get the best of your employees there. So effective communicating the goals of business while at the same time, you need to inspire trust in everyone that you're dealing with. Can I have the next slide, please? So now, let's look at the communication tips. Number one is communicate restlessly. I want you to look at the word restlessly. Restlessly means communicate, restating. Restlessly means you don't say it once and you leave it. Restlessly means I will tell you again at the beginning of my conversation of how good my product is. I will tell you in the next 10 minutes when I'm talking to you, I will again mention about the benefits of my product. A little bit down the road, I am again mentioning the same thing, but in a different way. So that by the end of your communication, which was maybe 20 minutes, the person now, all that has happened with his mind, he has got so much assurance of how good your product is. So when you assure in the first 10 minutes, you will assure again, you will repeat that sentence again further down your conversation. You will repeat that further down and even at the end. So when we say communicate restlessly, that is what we mean. Now, number two, what is it? setting clear expectations. So what is setting clear expectations? Now, you need to know that when you are dealing with anybody, you must lay out what you are expecting. Now, setting out clear expectations can be with another organization, but setting clear expectations within your own organization with the heads of your department is very important. Now, how many times have you found that you were disappointed because your staff or the department didn't meet with your clear expectations? Now, I want you to think, was it their fault? Or was it your fault? Or my fault? Did I set out the goals and did I make it very clear to them? Did they understand when we had the staff meeting what was the expectations of this company? Or did I just expect them that now they are in a senior position, they should know? So always remember that when they are failing in their job responsibilities, as a senior leader, I would ask you to sit back and ask yourself this question. Did I set out clear expectations? Is it part of my fault that the departments are not performing the way I would like them to? Now, number 3, I want to go is to simplify and be direct. Many times I have been in meetings with different corporate bodies, and there is just too much jargon. I hope you understand when I say too much jargon. There is just so much information given that the person or the people who are seated there get very confused with what you are saying. So just take whatever you need to and say, how can I simplify this? So simplify and be direct. Don't go beating around the bush and talking about things that are not concerned. Now, I have found when I have been working with the multinationals that if I can illustrate through stories, they are so listening and they want to know more. So one of the very important things you must learn at senior levels is confidentiality. Even though you are giving an example of another company, you must make sure that you do not actually mention that company's name unless you have already got permission. You must not at any time say, oh, well, Tom Jones' company, because of our product, now he's doing so well. You should never do that. But you can just do it by saying, one of the most prominent companies and the most successful companies that we are dealing with now has done so well because of our product. So telling them the stories of how they were a struggling company and you were able to help them, this inspires people. So this is what we mean by telling stories of success. Stories of success inspire somebody if they want your product, they want to work with you. Now, number 5, very, very important, is you must be prepared. Many times I've sat at meetings and someone has come to give a presentation, and when you ask certain details, he would be going through his phone or his laptop, and he will say, just give me a minute, let me check. No, that is not good. If you are going to give a presentation on anything, you must prepare yourself for some of the questions that are going to come up. So it is very, very important that you have all the knowledge of what you are presenting at that meeting. Because let me tell you, the people who are there will know whether you came prepared or you didn't come prepared. Now, know your audience. This is very, very important, that before you go to do that presentation, you need to know your audience. Now, if you are going to a particular company, please do a Google search of that company. How long has the company been in operations? What is the strength of their workforce? How many countries are they in? Know a bit more about them. Now, when you know your audience, when we talk about audience, we are talking getting to know the company in a more detailed manner. Then you can tune in your presentation into what they are interested in. There is no point going to that company and talking about products or talking about services that they do not need. So you need to know what they're dealing with. Now, this is what I mean when you say know your audience. Now, reinforce intent with body language. What does that mean? So when you reinforce with body language, say you are presenting a PowerPoint and you are talking to them and you are pointing to your PowerPoint, and there is a certain part of it that you want to stress. Leave that. Come right in front of them. Even walk through the middle aisle and say to them, we as company so-and-so are just so proud at the success we have had in this area. So when you do things like that, this is what I call body language. Or then we walk back again and we then point our gaze or our look at somebody there. And then we say, is there anything that you would like to ask me? Then you again move to the right and say, what did you feel about what I said? Would you like to give me your feedback? Then this shows how your body language actually can this. Now the next one, when you see 8, read the room. Now when I say read the room, I'm not talking of you reading any posters that's posted or whatever it is. Read the room. In English lingo, it means watch whether they are listening to you, they are disinterested, or have you caught their attention. If half of them have lost interest and they are looking at their phone and they are not looking at you, you need to immediately change whatever you are doing. How do I change that? I will immediately ask for their input on that particular subject that I was talking on. And when you ask for their input, you bring their attention back again. Number 9, ask good questions. Now, when you ask questions, there are close-ended questions and there are open-ended questions. I'll give you an example of a close-ended question. I hope you understood me. You would say yes or no. No, I do not want that. I want to engage you. So I would ask you an open-ended question, and I might say, would one of you like to tell me some of the things that you're experiencing at the moment that I would be able to help you? Is there any area in particular that you would like me to delve a bit deeper? They cannot say yes or they cannot say no. They have to interact with me. So now as we go to number 10. Number 10 is listen. If at all somebody puts their hand up and they want to say something, listen and encourage their input. The minute he's finished with what he said, you need to say, thank you for that input. That is very relevant, and I thank you for that suggestion. And I will bear that in mind, that we are able then to make sure that the warranties are better. So you are then rephrasing what the person says. Do not say, okay, yes, no, I don't know. These one syllable words, when you are at a senior level, you would never ever use them. You have to answer in sentences. Now, 11 is take feedback very seriously. So while you are at a meeting, somebody says to them, I want to tell you that we found that even before the 1-year warranty, the product didn't actually meet its standards. This is our concern. So you should take that very seriously and say, that is a serious concern. I want to assure you, I'm going to take this back to my company, and you are going to hear from me within the next 24 hours. I'd like to thank you for that feedback. That's valuable information. We are going to rectify that problem immediately. Then they know that you are serious about it. And number 12, when I say affirm with actions. Now, if you remember, I said, I will get back to you within 24 hours. So affirm with actions, I would immediately go back and I would immediately send an email to that company thanking them for the feedback they have given me and assuring them that now my department is looking into the problem that they have stated. So that is what we mean by affirm with actions. So can we go to the next slide, please? Now, I want to talk about influence. Influence is a very important part in senior leadership. The processing of influencing others takes on new dimensions, especially from experienced leaders. Senior executives need to be able to influence others effectively, You need to be able to persuade, you have to promote, you have to explain, and also remain comfortable with the understanding the role of power. Now, if you are not able to influence, first of all, the people you are working with, you're going to find it hard to influence the people in other companies. So I want you to actually try influencing the people you work with. This would be the best way for you to actually practice influencing. Now, influencing also involves setting up and engaging an extensive network of peers and contacts. As senior leaders, you must interact with a wide variety of stakeholders. So here, generally in Malaysia, we do have international get-togethers. What do the international get-togethers do? That we would invite them to maybe a lunch, a coffee morning. And we then invite them and we then tell them that who we are, what we are. And we just wanted all of them to be able to meet the others in the industry. Now we have found that in Malaysia, of course, we have to spend a bit of money and host them to maybe tea or coffee or a little lunch. But a lot of the companies here are doing this. And they have found that they are able to expand their network with different organizational stakeholders. Could I have the next slide, please? I want to talk to you also about learning agility. For many seasoned executives, this has become second nature. But over relying on what worked in the past or assuming they have, it takes to be successful in the future can spell trouble. I want you, this is very, very important. For a lot of people, they will always think, oh, we've done this 2 or 3 years ago. We will just do the same thing. You cannot. Every day you are learning. Every day you are finding out what is the new way of doing things. Now, we all know that we went through the COVID pandemic. I'm not too sure how it affected India, but here in Malaysia, we know that it affected a lot of companies, a lot of places closed down, and they just couldn't bring themselves back again. Now, what they failed to do was to learn that they needed to be able to still communicate without physically being able to meet each other or do things. So there were a lot of companies who did not actually communicate and keep the lines going, even though we were not able to meet physically. Some of the companies who opened up are still struggling, but what actually is the new thing to do is to try and find now how can we learn from that pandemic and not rely on being able to only interact in personal ways, in physical ways. Could we deal with this? Just dealing with it, over the phone, dealing with it through internet, dealing with it through other ways. So senior executives, the challenges may be knowing when the change course, having the tools to learn and adapt, and helping others to do the same. Now, being an agile learner is still an important leadership skill, even at a senior level. Now, I do not want senior level executives or people who have been the CEO for about 5 years in a company or even 10 years to say, oh, I've got, my company is making money. I don't need to know of what is going on now. The current trends, how are people doing it? Will this product now be wanted in the next 5 or 10 years? But because he's doing well now, he doesn't realize that he could be out of business in the next 5 years. So even if your company now is doing very well and you head this organization, you need to look at, will I be relevant in the next 5 years? So being an agile learner, what I am doing is I am going out there and checking what are the consumer trends, what is changing, what is new. And I'm sure you all know now, with AI, a lot of things are changing. AI has changed a lot. For some of the companies here now are asking their employees to leave because they don't need so many people. On the other hand, I'm also with the medical field. We find AI has become such now an asset to us, because with AI, we have been able to even detect cancer cells in a human body. So there is the boon and the bane of AI. When I say boon and bane, I mean the pros and cons of AI. So it will depend on your company and what your company is doing. Does AI affect your company? So these are the things when we say, be an agile learner. You have to go out there, meet with other senior leaders, meet with people, meet with different industries, learn, attend conferences, trainings. Till today, I am still learning. Till today, I am attending trainings, meetings, conferences, because I need to keep up with the current trends. If not, I cannot be giving you the latest information. Can I have the next slide, please? Now, the role of power in leadership. There are 4 key influencing skills. One is organizational intelligence. The other one is team promotion. The other one is trust building. And the other one is leveraging networks. So organizational intelligence, I wonder if you can just think for yourself, what would organizational intelligence mean? It would mean how well my key personnel in my organization is keeping abreast with everything that I am doing, that is going on with the new trends. What are the new trends that are out there? Now, team promotion. Am I getting my team together, getting them ready for the next few years? Getting my team ready, giving them the leadership training that they would need? Am I giving them encouragement? In order to do that, I need trust building. How do I build trust? First, within my own organization, within my own heads of department, within my own staff. They need to trust me that I would lead them, and I'm going to be there caring not only for myself, but also for them. Now, the next one, leveraging networks. Leveraging networks is so important because you must connect with other people. You have to connect with others. In fact, just before we started this, I was talking with Dr. Sundar about BNI because he saw that, on my screen backdrop, and I had just finished a meeting with them. Now, I have enough business, I have enough work, but I feel that by actually attending some of these meetings, these conferences, I get to meet other people, not from my profession. And then I am then kept abreast with everything that is not only going on here in Malaysia, but I am also leveraging networks from around the world. So when I'm talking about leveraging networks, please don't only keep to India. You must leverage first in the whole of Southeast Asia, and then I would encourage you, leverage with all the Western countries. The next slide, please. Now, I want to go through the 7 bases of power that leaders may leverage. Now, don't worry, I am going to tell Dr. Sundar that he can share my slides with you. You can use the slides for your own benefit, but you cannot use my slides to train someone else, okay? These are only for yourself. So, 1, the power of position is the formal authority that drives from a person's title or position in a group or organization. So if I carry the title of president, if I carry the title of the chief operating officer, if I carry the title of managing director, my title gives me power and authority. And that is a very important thing that people don't realize. I don't know if you've noticed that sometimes if you give your business card or your call card, they look and they say, oh, you're vice president of this, oh, you're vice president of that. And just that title alone gives you power. But most important thing is the power of charisma, is the influence that's generated in your leadership persona. It is how, once I've connected with that person, how do I talk to that person? I talk to that person giving full 110% of my attention just to him or to her, making her feel so important, letting her know I'm so privileged to have met you, using words of influence that will then make them feel special to carry on wanting to do any negotiations with you. Now, 3, the power of relationships is the influence that leaders gain through their formal and informal networks, both inside and outside your organization. Now, very important that everything that I have been telling you, you need to practice within your company, within your organization. It's only when this is practiced within your organization can you then take this out to other organizations. So the power of relationship will depend on how your relationship is within your own organization. Now, number 4, the power of information is the control that generates through the use of evidence deployed to make an argument. So you might get someone say, you know, we were really disappointed that you gave us so much hope about being able, that this product will be able to do this. But unfortunately, we were disappointed that it broke down. Now, you have to be very careful that you don't get into an argument. So do not make it an argument and say, oh no, you are wrong, our product is so good and everything. Do not use arguments with people. But you now have to generate enough evidence and information. So what is the information that you're going to give? That our products have always maintained, and we go to 3 or 4 inspection tests before we have sent it to you. Nevertheless, we could have even, encountered some human error, which we will be happy to address. So always know, don't go into arguments, but go into giving evidence. This is what we mean by generating evidence. The power, number 5, the power of expertise is the influence that comes from developing, communicating specialized knowledge, or the perception of knowledge. So in one of my earlier slides, I said to you, know your product. Know what your company is doing. Know everything well, because let me tell you, experienced C-suite people, they can look through you if you don't have that knowledge. Now, the power of punishment is the ability to sanction individuals for failure to conform. Now, to be very honest, I do not like the word punishment, but I just wanted to explain to you what that means. So for me, I've gone to this and I have found that through the negligence of my staff, they did not follow up with getting the consignment that these people needed in time now for their product launch. And this was a result of my heads of department not making sure that the staff had seen to this. So here, I need to take stern action. And I don't believe in punishment, but I just wanted to put that word there so you know what it means. So what I am going to then say to them, because of what has happened, we will now not finish work at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. In order to get this rectified, you all will all have to work overtime, putting in another 3 or 4 hours, but you will not be paid for the extra work because it was the fault of the department that caused us to tarnish our good reputation. So this is what we mean by when we say punishment or sanctioning for the individuals who did not do their work. Could I have the next slide, please? So learning agility, what traits do agile learners possess? As I said to you, we will never stop learning. So they know how to have a long career and show common characteristics of behaviors. You will find that if you're the head of a company, you will be able to see your heads of department. You will be able to see their behaviors. You will be able to see what are their strengths. Are they innovators? Are they eager to learn? Whenever you're talking to them, do they have excitement in them? Do they, as you are talking to them, question you with intellectual curiosity? Intellectual curiosity is wanting to even know more. I am just so excited about this new venture of ours. Do you think you can spend some time explaining to me? And when I see a head of department do that, he is somebody that I want to invest my time and I want to keep in my organization because I can see his intellectual curiosity. Because he is pushing for more. He's asking questions. He's seeking knowledge and insight. And those are the sort of people you want in your company. So don't get overwhelmed if you get asked by too many questions. At all times, if you're the head of your company, head of your department, you need to stay calm. You need to stay focused and even work through obstacles. Can I have the next slide, please? You will find that you will be able to notice the people who are really good workers. They would want to go back after the meeting and immediately start doing what you have said. But then again, you will get some who will go back and say, well, let me think about what he said. I don't know whether it can work. So you will be able to know when you find that that person has immediately gone back and made contact and has done something about it. You will find that they are very excited and they like to undertake diverse challenges because they will come about and say to you, what about if we include this other company? What about us trying to even sell it to another country? Now, when you have people like that, invest in them because this is the people with intellectual curiosity. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, leading from organizational impact. What is this? This is working across organizational boundaries. What is working across organizational boundaries? That means not within your company, you are working with other organizations and companies. Then we have strategic thinking and acting. This is very important. Balancing the tension between short and long-term strategic actions, because you need to know that there will be some companies who will say, oh, I'm not going to wait for your product for another 6 months. If you cannot give it to me within 3 months, I'm going to look for it somewhere else. So what do? You come back and you go into strategic thinking. You get together with your heads of department and say, now what do we need to do in order for us to comply with this company that can't wait 6 months, they want 3 months? Then challenge them with them coming up with ideas. Is one of the things now is to take on temporary staff so that we can work with this. So there are many different things. So next slide, please. Now, before I conclude, I want you to look at this picture. And I hope all of you do know who he is. This is Richard Branson. And he is the person behind the brains of Virgin Airlines. I've studied a lot about Richard Branson. He did not go to a university simply because he had learning disabilities. But he did not let that hinder him. He bought one plane and he was going to just try it out for himself within that area, that he could transport just certain groups of people within that area. But because of his excitement that he wanted to prove that he could do it, he then set up Virgin Airlines that flew all over the world. And he believed that this is what you do. And I want you all also to remember that train people well enough so that they can leave. But what is the most important thing that he does? He treats them so well enough, they don't want to leave him. They love him because he understands people at a deeper level. Could I have the next slide, please? Now I want you all to ask yourself this question, that with this new awareness and this new information that I gave you today, what are you willing to do differently as of today? Are any of you, when you go back today, going to think, I think I want to change this. I think this is what I'm going to do. So this is the question now I pose to you with this new awareness. What are you willing to do differently as on today? Next slide, please. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Synthia. It was a good insights and insightful presentation today. As usual, I think they have got a lot of information from you. And what exactly I wanted to start with, I think you have ended with the question. We have taught something called behavioral modeling yesterday, and they have been going through that stages, 4 stages. First, they have to look for